Heusinkveld Engineering.
Heusinkveld.
Heusinkveld Engineering.
Heusinkveld.
Heusinkveld.
Here it goes. Heusinkveld.
Heusinkveld.
That's almost perfect.
Okay.
The championship is coming to the closing stages of the season. Just 2 more weeks for these drivers to be able to decide who is going to be the champion of the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. And we've got the broadcast for you live here on the iRacing Esports Network and on Racesport TV. My name is Paul Smith, in the commentary with me as well as Samuel Aurora, and well, we've had some amazing races in the first 4 weeks of this championship, but this week we're heading over to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, the otherwise known as Interlagos. Here we are, there's the series schedule up on the screen. Zandvoort was a really tricky one last time out back in July. One more round to come after this, which is on the 28th of August, and that is Silverstone. And well, Samil, what can we say about this championship? It has just produced amazing entertainment all the way through the season.
It absolutely has. We've gone to some of the best circuits in the world, and this time out we are here in Interlagos, which even in Formula 1 cars can produce a thriller of a race. So for this one right here, it is bound to be a proper cracker. The banner on top of the pit board, it says Sao Paulo City like none other. Certainly Interlagos is a track like none other.
Absolutely, you've got the undulations, you've got the different sectors of the lap. The first and third sectors being very high speed, but that middle sector, it's a really tricky technical sector, isn't it, Samel?
Oh, it really is. It really is. You've got so many corners leading from one into the other one, and they're all very tricky places to pass on. So you've got the likes of Ferradura, and then you've got Pineirinho, Bico de Pato, such tough corners where you actually need to feel your car, feel your way through around them. And that is what makes Interlagos such a different circuit. We've got corners with a lot of camber, where you've got to feel your way around. And then you've got turns in the center S's, where you can actually go dive bomb the inside and get your move done. So it's a proper mixture of everything. Not exactly the slowest circuit in the world. It's only 4.2 kilometers and it goes past very quickly. But the racing right here is superb. There are so many hotspots where you can go in and make your move.
Yeah, absolutely. I could tell you from a previous touring car series that we used to broadcast on Racesport TV that we once went 4 wide into the Centre S, so that tells you how you can have really close action from this track. But there's your championship standings at the moment. There is a drop week in this season, so Ross Balfour, even though he wasn't around last time out, he is top of the standings, but only just ahead of Jason Cooper. Patrick Binji, a great job for the core sim racing driver as well, in third, and Fraser Smith fourth. That top 4 there, Samil, you've seen how the top 3 have been really strong week after week, and Fraser Smith, he's got the pace, but he just seems to get involved in a few little incidents that knock him down the field.
And that's a very tricky place to be in, because in TCR cars, you're bound to be involved in certain incidents here and there. Again, classic touring car drivers, rubbing is racing. So for Fraser Smith, it's all about trying to stay out of the caution, stay out of the trouble, I beg your pardon, as much as possible. Because somewhere down the line, you're bound to be in the incidents. How much can you capitalize on them? How much can you come out on the better side of things and go ahead and have a good race? That is what matters for Smith right here. That said, it's easier said than done, and at a track like Interlagos, where you've mentioned that people can really go 3 or 4 wide, it's going to be something very tricky to avoid. But again, place with brilliant overtaking opportunities, if there's one man who can get something done, it has to be Fraser Smith in the end.
Absolutely. Now, if you've never seen this series before, you're in for an absolute treat. You've got 2 heat races. These 2 heat races are going to decide the grid for the final, the feature race here. And that race, I can tell you, is going to be, if I actually have a look at my sheet here, 14 laps is that feature race. So, going to be intense action all the way through the evening. Fast-paced, frenetic action is what you expect. And Samel has even coined the phrase of totally chaotic racing as well, haven't you?
It is. If these cars can deliver at a circuit like Zandvoort, which is very tight, very twisty, very serpentine, and you barely have a couple of places to pass, if you can have a good race at a circuit like that one, Interlagos is literally a safe haven for overtaking opportunities. You come to think of it, the Senna S's, then you all the way go back down to the Retta Bossa and then turn 4 and 5. And then Junsao Corner, where we've seen so many dramatic moves over the years. Case in point, Lewis Hamilton and Timo Glock as well. And it can be a proper drag race to the finish line. And that is something that makes me very excited for the racing that's going to come up today.
So qualifying is currently ongoing at the moment here. We're on board with Sandra Petersilia, who is in 6th place. So through the Senna S there and through Curva de Sol, the left-hander at turn number 3, and then plunge downhill toward Descenda del Lago, which is quite a difficult braking zone here. The back end wants to get loose, and you've got to brake a little bit earlier than you would imagine. Get the car hooked up on the left-hand side curb, run it out to the curb on the right, and then pick up turn 5 apex from there. Going back uphill now into one of my favourite corners, the Ferradura. It is such a challenging corner. Got to get it slowed down, balance the throttle, don't let the car understeer too much. Sandra has just taken quite enough there into turn number 8 now, the right, tight right, then the left. Downhill it goes, comes back uphill again, using all of the curb on the right hand side. Straight line your braking zone into the duckbill, the Pico de Pato, and then downhill once again through turn 12 before you get to Junsao, the left-hander. And you've got to carry the speed from this corner. This is such a crucial corner, isn't it, Samel?
It absolutely is. The main stretch at Interlagos is so long. I mean, it really goes on for forever. And if you do not get a good run of the final corner, you're pretty much on the lagging side, because then you cannot really get a good exit, and you're compromised all the way through the Senna S's, which still hasn't arrived yet. That just gives you a good idea about how long this front stretch is. Then you break down here. It's a very tricky first corner, using all the camber to your advantage. And the momentum is so critical on this one, because if you don't get a good exit for Retta Bosta, yet again your straight line speed is compromised, and your braking zone heading into turn 4 is going to be much early on, because then you can't really make your moves if your exit is pretty bad. So for someone like Petrozilo, it's trying to use a little bit of that draft as well. It's not really a major factor in DCRs, but even if you have the slightest bit of advantages, hey ho, works in your favour.
Now don't forget, with heat racing here, once the clock strikes 0 here in qualifying, that is it. You cannot finish that lap. So at the moment in qualifying, we've got Ross Balfour on pole position provisionally ahead of Patrick Abinji. Fraser Smith in 3rd place, so 3 of your championship contenders in the top 3. Alessandro Bacialega then 4th place ahead of Jason Cooper. So your top 3 in the championship, or top 4 in the championship, all there in the top 5 of qualifying. They've only got 0.3 of a gap between them all.
It's all going to go very argy-bargy here today, and if there's one thing we've seen from this circuit, it is quite clear that that sort of thing is possible. Again, Paul, heat racing, you don't want to be too aggressive, because in the end, your qualifying slots may get really hampered down when you come to the feature race, and that is going to be a proper problem for all of them.
Well, here's your starting grid then for heat number 1 tonight then. Ross Balfour for Core Sim Racing on pole position of this one, ahead of Fraser Smith for Full Send Racing. Jason Cooper, Swift Cooper Esports, he's a very fast driver as well in that car. He's in third place ahead of Sandro Petrosillo in fourth even. Good grief, I can't even count today. Marcus Icon in the Life Part Esports car in 5th place ahead of Andrei Rakovic. And then Maximilian Fritz rounding out your 7-car grid in this first of the heat races. It is a rolling start here, of course, so the drivers get to just set themselves up. Now, where they start here is actually on the run up to Ferradura. So we've got quite a long pacing period here, Sir Mill. So as we've mentioned, as we've touched on, you can have really close, exciting racing. We saw how close those qualifying times were as well. What are your thoughts going into this first heat race?
I can't wait for it. I can't wait to see how these guys tackle the first lap in particular. Because, Paul, remember, even though it's a slightly longer initial pace lap, the tyres will still be pretty cold. And in TCR cars, it's all front-wheel drive. The front wheels even work, you actually have to lay down the power along with turning the car along as well. So turn 1, the Senna S's, that is going to be a proper hotspot. So expect some carnage over there, just as we saw in Barcelona a couple of rounds ago. And on the whole, Paul, there's going to be a lot of trading paint. There's going to be lots of changing of positions. In the end, though, it's all about the driver who can stay away from all the carnage as well as possible. Because this circuit, it almost always delivers.
Absolutely. So the drivers will be concerned about getting some form of temperatures and tyre pressures into their tyres here. Now, I know from experience of racing around here that you can't go too early on this pacing lap, because the pace car takes a long time to get to the pit lane. So you're going to have to watch out for that. They are leaving a big gap, but that's not enough of a gap, and they have to wait until the green flag, don't forget, in this series. Just finally, timing, live timing is available. Racebot.tv/timing2 for all of your timing here tonight. You're going to keep up with all the races here. And now we're going uphill once again for the first of 3 races of this evening. It's Ross Balfour, pole position, Fraser Smith alongside him. This is a great opportunity for Fraser. Oh, that's if he doesn't have any connection problems. He is back there. But Balfour on the inside for the Senna S at the start. What can he do here? What can the other drivers as well, of Cooper and Petrosillo, what can they do? Green flag is out. Away we go for race action here in the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. Heat number 1. Down towards turn 1. It is Ross Balfour who's in the lead, and down the inside goes Jason Cooper. 3 wide into turn number 1. Fraser Smith is in 3rd. Rakovic and Icon are battling it out for 4th and 5th place. Everybody getting themselves into single file right now. Petrosillo, Icon, and then Fritz then round out your 7 cars. Now, normally in these heat races, we'd be saying, oh, who's going to get knocked out? Not tonight. Every one of these drivers is going to make it to the feature race. It's all about getting yourself the best grid position for that feature race.
And it makes it even more important, because on one side you may say Interlagos, white circuit. On the other hand, passing is not very easy as a driver as well. Here you see Rakovic coming under pressure from Petrosillo in that yellow car right there. It's not exactly the easiest place to make a move in the midfield, but here he is trying to get something done around the outside the Liebert car. Tell you what, Paul, he's certainly not short of any sort of intent today.
Yeah, he's really showing his nose and showing what he wants to do early on here. Of course, an 8-lap race, these heat races. As they get out of the duckbill and downhill, plunging downhill through turn 12 in towards Junsau Junction. To give it its English meaning, through that corner. Now look at the lead. Ross Balfour's run wide here. Here's an opportunity for Jason Cooper to take the lead of this race. They're going side by side. They're almost bumping doors down the pit straight. In towards turn number 1, across the line. You're going to see plenty more of this throughout this evening, that's for sure. onto the brakes. Who's the bravest? The rears are still cold, don't forget. And Cooper to the head of your field. Jason Cooper, great run, but this is not going to be over here, Samel. The slipstream is so strong around here.
And the battle just begins for round number 2. Here comes Ross Balfour chasing behind Cooper, pulls to the inside line. That's where you want to be, because the tighter exit is for this corner, the better run you're going to have. And rightfully so, Balfour swoops back into the lead. And from the looks of things, Cooper has to wait. No, he doesn't, pushes Balfour wide.
Yeah, he almost got into the back of Balfour then to Jason Cooper. We've got 2 wide action further back as well, because Petrozilo still trying to make his way past. Not working so far as they're going to Ferradura once again. Onto the brakes then, and you can see Sandro showing the nose there, and Icon is just sat there waiting, isn't he?
Icon is just waiting for the right time. He's waiting to capitalize on this whole game and trying to pick up the pieces. But again, qualifying positions on offer. You want to get things done as early as possible, as we see Sandro going side by side. They are door to door at this stage. It's a long, tricky left hand in this one, so Petrozilo has to concede. Look at him trying to fight back. Goes to the inside line ball. Here comes Junsar corner. And what? Petrozilo is back up. Here he comes though.
Yeah, that's it. You can get the cut back through there, and the inside line is worth so much. Now, Sandro needs to try and get his teammate working with him, maybe give him a bit of a bump draft down the straight here. Engage the NASCAR tactics down the straight, but Rakovic to the inside. He is in front for the time being. They're still close together. I think there was a little bit of bump drafting going on there from Icon, but he's not enough to get his teammate in front of Rakovic. But Rakovic running wide through turn number 2. That's going to compromise his run through Curva de Sol. This gives Petrozilo the best opportunity down towards Descenda del Lago.
That's the beautiful thing about Interlagos. You can keep your battles going on for as long as you want to. Here he comes. Petrozilo down the inside, gets the move on Rakovic. It's going to be a tough place to get a cut back on, mind you. But he is seeming to be getting a good run. But here comes Icon at the back as well. So both the Liebherr cars working together, and it's a proper Rakovic sandwich right now.
Yeah, it's great to see teamwork like that happen, and that's what can happen through Ferradura. You can run wide, and now Icon taking the opportunity. He's going to try and push him wide in the corner there. That compromises Rakovic's corner, and that is Icon up into 5th place. So the 2 Liebherr cars working themselves up to 4th and 5th. I can tell you at the front, you can see on the timings bar on the left hand side, Fraser Smith has actually joined in the party at the front of the field as well. So he's giving the front 2 a bit of food for thought here. But Petrozilo is already pulling away from Rakovic and Icon.
He actually is. He's doing quite a good job at the top, and surely Icon will do something. We see Cooper and Smith just swerving around a little bit on the timing screen right there, so we wonder what happened at that stage. At the top, Balfour, Cooper and Smith, all these 3 guys are with together. Here comes Cooper. Is he going to look for a lunge? He waits this time out, Paul. And this is the one thing I love. 3 guys going completely at it. Interlagos is a circuit as open as a sanctuary. Battles are welcome here. All these 3 guys will be perfectly accommodated. Question is, who can get the edge on each other? Looks like Smith is coming for the attack now.
Well, you can see on the back of Balfour's car there's just a little bit of damage. That must be from when Cooper got into the back of him around this very corner here. So a little bit of damage affected on the rear of Balfour and on the front of Cooper's car. And that could just be slightly affecting their top speed. Not by much, it must be said. And that's allowing Fraser Smith to, first of all, get in the slipstream and now be able to attack.
Well, this middle sector can be really tight and twisty. The easiest place to make a move, and with these TCR cars, when you're actually laying down the power and turning in with your front wheels, can be a bit of a tough place to make your move. So you will see these guys being slightly more hesitant around here as we approach the peak of the bottle. But now, this is where the fun begins, Paul. We're approaching the final couple of corners. With around, 4 more odd laps to go, the qualifying positions over here are properly on offer. And with someone like Ross Balfour being on pole position for the feature race, that is something a bit worrying for Cooper, because he isn't the easiest cookie to pass. So, making a move right here is going to have a long-standing impact on the feature race. Here we come though. Cooper using the slipstream to get ever so closer on his rear bumper.
Don't forget as well the point standings. With the heat races, you can actually pick up a few extra little bonus points from your finishing positions in the top 3 of the heat races. So, you want to get the place as far up as possible, not only for your qualifying position, but it helps with the championship as well.
It does, and where the championship is as closely locked up at the top half of the field as this one is, want every single one of those points on offer. So you will see the intensity reflected down to the very way these guys drive on track right here. And that can be seen with the difference between all these guys, only a couple of tenths here and there. Now normally you do expect to see that kind of a thing in TCR cars, but quite often you see a big gulf between the field, and what these guys have done is shown their class. They're completely up away from all the other guys. You can see it from the way they have been driving. Riding on board right now, Fraser Smith.
Yeah, the full send racing driver at the moment. I think he's biding his time a little bit because of the fact that the slipstream is so powerful around this track. Really, you want to be making your moves on the last lap if you're near the front of the field. So
absolutely.
So that's going to be weighing on Fraser's mind. But before, call it 3 and a bit laps remaining of this race, it's Balfour leading, Cooper second, Smith in third. This is the battle that we're looking at right now. Petrozelia has been able to pull away in 4th. Fraser Smith wide over the grass. That's cost him huge in that battle. He's dropping back like a stone, and that's really cost him potentially a chance at a first or second place in the heat race as that one mistake. I'll just finish off your running order at the moment. Icon is in 5th place behind his teammate, and then Rakovic dropping back from the 2 Leipart drivers in 6th place, and then final one, Maximilian Frizz in 7th place, and he's dropping back quite far. So Maximilian not really feeling that confident around this track, it seems. And he's dropped down 18 seconds. There he is on screen right now. But he's out there. Oh, in fact, he's pulling over, so he must have a problem of some sort.
Yeah, there must be something going wrong with Fritz right there. Not exactly the best of races for him, as we can see. But coming back to this battle on the very top, Cooper is trying to pounce on Balfour for this tricky... What is that? Right-hand corner that we've got right here. It's easy to get confused at times, but yeah, you can see Balfour using the curves to the full advantage, but you don't want to do that too much because the car can just bottom out at times and you can eventually lose control. What happened back there in the battle for P2 with Fraser Smith was he just overcooked the corner, trying to go a little bit too hard on Junsal. Right there, when the car really isn't tuning in so quickly because the front-wheel drive cars have to lay down the power at the same time, lost the braking, went on the grass, somehow kept the car clean away from the trouble. But yeah, he's as isolated as a duck on a warm summer's day. You just don't want to disturb him right now.
As we head on uphill once again, and the king of the one-liner, Similera, I can tell you right now. But these two at the front right now, we're coming up towards starting the penultimate lap here. So this is where things are going to start really heating up in this battle for first place. And Fraser Smith is still in the hunt here. If either of these two make a mistake, or if in fact both of them get together, then they could be in real trouble. Icon is on pit road. Please don't tell me he hasn't put enough fuel into the car.
Oh my goodness me! If that's the case,
happened.
That's rather baffling to me.
Well, he's jumped out the car, I can tell you. So something has happened to him. So he's going to be finishing in 6th place. That means Rakovic is up into 5th now in all of that kerfuffle happening right there. But heading up towards Ferradura, time is starting to run out here for Jason Cooper. But as I said to you earlier, Samil, it's that last lap where it's really going to matter.
It's that very last lap, and more precisely, Paul, the run on the exit, in fact, from Junsal corner. You want to know who has the best experience of the same? Pierre Gasly. Last year in Formula 1, he just got a better exit than Lewis Hamilton, and the Honda power stretching him out away to the finish line. It is just a proper drag race to the finish. They've not got Honda power here today, but Audi power isn't too bad either. It's those front-wheel drive cars dragging themselves along. And once you get that better exit from Junsal, you're just hoping that the car can give you enough so that your nose is up ahead on the finish line. And that's one thing we've seen time and again, Paul. Close finishes, photo finishes almost here in the TCR series by Heusinkveld.
Absolutely. Right, start of your last lap then is going to be happening right now. The drivers will see the white flag in the stand, and Ross Balfour is going defensive. Jason Cooper taking the wide line into the centre S. That isn't the ideal line, but you can get the better run. It'll give you the better line through the second part, but Balfour parked the car on the apex pretty perfectly through turn number 1. That gave him a good exit through 2 into 3. Now plunging downhill, great onboard shots being given to us by Hugo Lewis behind the cameras. Down towards Interlagos, looking to the inside. Jason Cooper tried to force the mistake. You can see how close he is getting there on the braking. This is great stuff. You can see on the back of Ross Balfour's car just how close Jason got a few laps ago. In towards Ferradura now. Last time, look at the wider line being taken by Cooper. He's going to try and cut back on the inside here to get the inside for the next right-hander, but it's not happening for the time being. So they're going to stay as they are, line astern, just waiting patiently. He knows he's got one more opportunity to drag out of Heusinkveld. You can make a dive into Bico de Pato, but not going to happen this time. So Cooper lining up Ross Balfour through turn number 12 towards Heusinkveld. This is the most important corner that he needs to get. He needs to get the cleanest exit. Uses the curb and then some. Balfour ran a little bit wider. That could have compromised his exit. Here comes Cooper then in the slipstream. This is only the first heat of 3 races tonight. We've got the start and finish camera, and who's it going to be? Balfour hugging the inside pit wall. Cooper's not quite there. Pulls out to the side, but it's not enough across the line. Oh, that was really close finish there. 7/100ths of a second between the two of them across the line. What a race. We'll bring the results up on screen here, and that was sensational stuff across the line. Balfour then, Ross Balfour qualifies pole position for the feature race in that particular heat race. Jason Cooper second, ahead of Fraser Smith third, who was a second and a half behind. Sandro Pesila not able to catch the front 3, down in 4th place ahead of Andrei Rakovic. And then Marcus Einhorn, who came onto pit road, and Maximilian Friss do not finish the race, but are classified in 6th and 7th places. Let's bring you the qualifying grid for race number 2. This is the second of the 2 heats. Patrick Kubinji for Core Sim Racing, pole position ahead of Alessandro Baccialega in 2nd place for SRC Squadra Corsa, and then Martin Asher in the Impulse Racing car ahead of Kai Hitchler in Leipart Esports. 5th place for Philip Eckert in the iLiveries VIB Esports car. Lennart Hartenberg in the Team Heusinkveld car in 6th place, and then Max Thorg Hutzfeldt, get that correct in the end, get the teeth in. He is due to start in 7th place, but he has not taken to the grid. So 6 cars should be starting this race, although I can only count 5 cars on the grid at the moment. And hopefully... Lennart Hartenberg, I don't know if we can catch this. He's stuck, and in fact he's had to take a tour back to the pits. He was stuck on where the cars roll away for the start of the race. So even before the start of the race, we've had drama.
My goodness me. Now, I was slightly disappointed that the second Hartenberg brother, both the Hartenberg brothers weren't there at the same time, but yeah, it's even more trouble for him. But let's keep all that aside. Even with 5 cars, I am pretty sure that this series will deliver yet again. Here we go though. Baccialega in 2nd place. He wants to get that jump from Kubinji. It's getting closer, Paul. Who do you think is going to be your pick for the win? I'm actually going to go for Baccialega.
I think Patrick Kubinji has shown pace throughout this championship in that Core Sim Racing car, and he should be on for a good result here. Well, we've only got 5 cars at the moment because one car couldn't get away and the other car didn't take the start. But still, we should have some really good action in this second heat race. 8 laps ahead of the drivers. Green flag dropped. Away we go for the start of this Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. Race number 2 of the evening. Down in towards the Centre S for the first time in this race. Everybody just checking up through there 2x2, and it's Barcelona who goes to the front of your field ahead of Kubinji. Eckhart and Hischler are swapping positions as well. They're running a bit wide, and here comes Kubinji then to the outside of turn 3 in towards turn number 4. Patrick, can he be late on the brakes? There's late braking going on behind there as well from one of the Leipart cars. That's Hischler, who dives down the inside into 4th place, battling for 3rd as well here. So close action throughout the field here.
Now, Hischler really went on the aggressive, trying to be the ultimate opportunist, goes around the outside. That's not really a good car to go around the outside, mind you, because if you go even slightly wide, the iRacing traffic police will be right here to penalise you. But he's under some pressure from Eckhart right behind, and he wants to attack Ashard right ahead of him. Precarious place to be him for him, but the opening lap so far, Paul, all very clean. But here we come, Kubinji trying to make a lunge, like Hamilton and Albon it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Great close action here on the opening lap. The rear tyres won't actually get full temperature in them until around about the middle of lap 2 into lap 3 here. So braking will be tricky in this car because the rear will feel like it wants to turn around. Barcelona right now holding the lead. Patrick Kubinji in 2nd place. You could see that Core Sim Racing car then close by, and here we go, slipstream taking effect in towards turn number 1. Across the line they go. Kubinji, he knows he doesn't need to make this move straight away. Looking to the outside, careful of not touching the grass there, Patrick. Turn 2, now Barcelona slightly compromised exit through there. That's going to have him slower through 3. This gives Patrick the opportunity to get the run on him, and here comes Martin Ashert as well to make it a 3-car battle for the lead.
They are going door to door at this stage. Seems like Kubinji has got his nose up ahead. Yes, he has, but Barcelona counters back yet again. He's still going down the inside. They're almost going to come together. Kubinji going slightly wide. Asher joins the party. He's going side by side with Kubinji as well, and he's got the jump on him. And now we have the Leipart car of Hischler in this back as well. So Barcelona, just a little bit of breathing space for him. But at the back, it is all ticking up right here. What do we have? Hischler going down the inside, and he's got it stick, Paul. He's got it stuck in.
Yeah, he made the apex there. Great stuff from Kai. Not able to get to the apex of that corner. Little bit of contact between him and Martin Ashert then. Little bit of door banging, and yes, the lights are flashing from Kai. He's not happy with that treatment there from Martin Ashert, and that just allows the front 2 to just pull away slightly here in this one. So it is still Barcelona and Kubinji into Heusinkveld once again. End of lap 2. Going to have 6 to go across the line, and this field just spreading out just that little bit, so you're not going to be seeing that slipstream in towards turn number 1 taking effect. And Barcelona having some technical problems here. Oh, please don't say we're going to lose Barcelona from this event. Well, at the moment, it's Kubinji who is leading then. We'll have to wait and see, but I have a sneaky suspicion that Barcelona has lost his connection to the server here, and that will be heartbreaking because he was having such a good run at the start of this race.
Oh, Barcelona, he is such a good driver in these TCR cars. It will be such a shame to lose him through for this particular one, and hopefully he comes back for the final feature race as well, because it'll be a proper shame not to see a battle between him, Kubinji, Cooper and Balfour in the feature one. That said, Paul, maybe, just maybe, we can see Ashert now using the clean air, using the free space to get something done on Kubinji, because he was looking a bit racy early on.
Yeah, he was, absolutely. He, of course, pried the door open, shall we say, on Kai Hischler on the previous lap. So, you know, he's nothing short of assertive, shall we say, in his moves. But we are on lap 3. Patrick Kubinji in the lead of this one ahead of Martin Ashert with Kai Hischler 3rd place. Philip Eckhart in 4th. And that's all that's running here, because we've lost Bacialega. Leonard Hartenberg didn't even get away from the start of the pace lap, and I can confirm that Alessandro Bacialega, he has lost connection to the server, so connection problems causing issues.
Oh dearie me, it is so sad to see something quite like this one. Maximilian Fritz as well in the first heat having issues hardware side. So yeah, things are really going wrong for all these drivers here today. But tell you what though, Kai Hitchler, he's shown a great deal of intent today. Here he is chasing Asher for second place. And that's the best part, Paul. Even though you have people going all the way around, not really competing in this one, just drive through and you could find yourself finishing fourth, which in fact offers you quite a bit of points eventually. So, hey, not a bad place to be in for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget as well that how the grid system works in this series is that if you finish first place in the heat, so in heat 1 you end up with pole position for the feature race. If you win this race here in heat number 2, you end up in second place for the feature race. This battle for second place right here is effectively trying to battle for fourth place on the grid, the second row of the grid, for the feature race.
They are, and eventually this battle will spill on to the feature race, which we will have after that. Mind you folks, no consolation race here today, so everyone that takes part is going to the feature. It's all about where you start in that one, and as we have seen today, overtaking, although it may be a wide circuit, you have to barge your way through the door, and that is something that takes a lot more effort, so might as well get a good heat race and start up higher up in the feature one. Beautiful sunset on the side, and that will just lead to slightly lower track temperatures as we head into the evening part of this one, so the lap times may end up falling, but the thing is, it remains the same for everyone, so it offers no particular advantage to one driver as such.
Well, I can tell you, track temperature at the moment, 27.8 degrees Celsius out there. So the track temperature is cooling as Hischler taking a slightly different line through the centre S. And there's Asher, Martin Asher, who's actually closed up to the back of Patrick Kabinji here. So lap number 5, we're halfway through the race. And these drivers, you can see everyone who's still running in this race on that shot there in towards the Descender de Lago. Through turn 4 into turn 5. Important to carry the speed through this corner because you're going uphill, and you're heading in towards Ferradura, the tricky double apex right-hander here. Get it in on the first apex, slow it down a little bit, feather your throttle. Second apex, don't run out too wide. You can see how Kabinji was running all over the curb, whereas Asher not even touching that outside curb on the exit of Ferradura.
Different driving styles you can see between all these drivers, and eventually it all culminates down to who can extract the maximum from their approach. Lots of drivers trying to go a bit more aggressive, and there are the other field of drivers who just go a little bit smoother with these TCR cars, let them feel the way through and then power out. I mean, there's no right or wrong as such, it's all about how you can make things work out. And the best thing is, well, they're really going wide on the curves on the exit of Heusinkveld, and we saw that in the last heat as well. Even if they go slightly wide, the implications could be very heavy.
Certainly could, yeah, absolutely. We saw that with Fraser Smith in that first heat. Across the line, they're going to go then. And it's going to be 3 laps remaining as they go across the line. The front 3 covered by a second. And then Philip Eckhart, who is a further 4 seconds back from these drivers. So Eckhart, he's picking up some good position to get himself a good qualifying spot. He'll be starting 8th in that feature race. So downhill once again towards the end of the Lago. Martin Asher not as close this lap, so he's just having to have a bit of patience here and just wait for his chance. Now, one thing that I will point out here is, Samel, with these heat races, you can afford to be more aggressive on the car, more aggressive on the tyres, because it is a shorter race. But that feature race at 14 laps, it's almost twice the length of these races. You've got to have a little bit of tyre preservation in that.
You do have got to. The driving approach completely changes because on one side you're trying to exploit the car on this one. I mean, it's only 8 laps. What can you do in 8 laps? So might as well just go hell for leather in all of these ones and try to punish the car as much as possible just so you can extract that extra few tenths of a second. That doesn't count in the race though, because as Paul, you rightly mentioned, 14 laps. So in that case, you need to be slightly more conservative, not much, just a little bit more, to make sure that you have enough left in the tank and enough left on the tyres so that you can go for one last push on the final laps and get all the positions that you want to. Because if you don't, Interlagos in the middle sector will punish you really bad. If you don't have all the grip on the tyres right there, you will just be like a proper snail just swiggling around that middle sector. And I can tell from experience, that is such an agonizing thing to do.
As we're on to the penultimate lap here, Martin Asher just not quite close enough. Kai Hitchler ran a little bit wide. You just caught it on the cameras through Junsao, and that slowed him going up the hill. And it is a steep incline as that, so that meant that he was compromised all the way across the line. So you can see he's dropped back from the lead too here. Right now, Patrick Kabinji, he doesn't need to worry. He just needs to hit his marks. He needs to make sure he doesn't miss any braking points and just can work himself through towards the end of this race and keep that half a second lead. But Martin Asher is keeping that pressure on here.
Close and steady Martin Asher, taking every single move in a very measured approach, trying to understand what Kabinji is doing. And that is quite an underrated thing, because once you understand where the other guy in front of you is making his mistakes, say for instance for Kabinji it could be this corner, Bico de Pato, you can line up a move right here and understand that, okay, this is where I can pounce, this is where I can make my mark. And that observation skill really comes up with time. You have to keep on driving and driving and driving. Easier said than done. I myself have no clue about how to do that. But these drivers get a good hang of it as we now are approaching the final lap of the race. So the Americans would say, white flag in the air.
Yep, they certainly are. But as they head on through there, 1 lap remaining in this heat race. And right now, Kabinji has just pulled out that gap at the front. You can see him 8 tenths per second ahead of Martin Asher in second place. Down in towards the centre S for the final time in this heat race. Left, right, then left again through Curva de Sol, the turn number 3. Downhill towards Descida de Lago. Hugo will be absolutely pulling his hair out at my pronunciation of these corner names, by the way, since he is from Brazil. But through the left-hander here, and uphill once again towards Ferradura into turn number 6 and 7. So it's classed as 2 different corners, is this? Over the curb, onto the brakes then, slow it right down. Slowest point of the track is going to be coming up. Not this corner here. The next corner, Bica de Pato, is the slowest corner on track. Get it right slowed down. Get your wheels over that curb on the inside. Run it out wide. The car always wants to understeer through that corner. You can see he's pulled away to a second now ahead of second place. So Patrick Kabinji for the Core Sim Racing team. 1 corner and out he goes. He's going to be looking towards that finish line. You can almost see the checkered flag here. Through the final kink in this track, and he sees the checkered flag then for the win in this heat race, heat number 2, ahead of Martin Asher, with Kai Hitchler and Philip Eckert, the 4 finishers in this race. Unfortunately losing the early leader of this race, Alessandro Bacialega, and also Lennart Hartenberg, who didn't even get away under the pace lap. And Mats Thorg Heusinkveld did not take the start at all, and I don't believe he'll be returning either. We have lost, in fact, I can tell you Hartenberg and Bacialega have not returned back to the session, so we are down a couple of drivers here. But this is the feature race. This is the grid of how they line up here. And it's the two core sim racing cars. That's a bit ominous. First and second place with Jason Cooper third and Martin Asher in fourth place. Fifth for Fraser Smith in the full send racing outfit, ahead of Kai Hitchler. Sandra Petrozila ahead of Philip Eckert. Andrei Rakovic ahead of what should be Alessandro Bacialega, but I don't believe he'll be taking the start. Marcus Eichhorn is 11th, and Leonard Hartenberg, another driver I don't believe will be taking the start. Maximilian Fritz is in 13th, and as I say, the 14th place driver I don't believe also will be taking the start. So we are down a couple of drivers, and well, we're pulling away for the start of this feature race already. Well, it's been a bit calm, Samil. I know it's a bit, it's going to ask you for trouble, is that saying that right now, but it has been a bit calm as this racing, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been slightly processional. Well, the other way could be trying to understand that, okay, maybe the drivers are saving all the energy and heat up for this main feature race. Hopefully that is the case, because we are getting deeper in the day. The sun is setting and the headlights are properly on, Paul, so the intensity level must be going up. So maybe all the energy that the drivers have saved up in the heat races, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be put out right here. And to all your friends who are watching the Champions League, tell them to come here. It doesn't matter, Barcelona 4-1 down. Tell them to watch some good heat racing, because this is where the fun is going to be for the next 20 odd minutes.
Yep, it is the final race of the evening then, the feature race. These drivers getting themselves lined up. 10 cars going to be taking to the start of this final. We've got to wait for that green flag before we get away. Drivers patiently running in order, trying to get themselves set for the start. Ross Balfour's got a little bit of a gap at the front of the field. I'm sure the admins would prefer him not to have that big a gap, but the pace car is going to pull in to the left right about now. There it goes, onto pit road. Green flag in the air, away we go for the final race of the evening, the feature race in the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series, down towards turn number 1 for the first time this lap then, and it is Balfour ahead of Kabinji. Cooper and Asher staying in position in third and fourth place. Fraser Smith fifth, and Sandra Petrozilio is making some moves on Kai Hitchler further back, and the two teammates, don't forget, in the Leipert cars, battling it out for 6th and 7th place, heading towards Interlagos for the first time in this race. 14 laps, don't forget. So plenty of time for things to happen, including Fraser Smith running wide, and that's going to give Sandra the perfect opportunity to make a move here.
What can Sandro do in this case? Going around the outside, look at the commitment, look at the sheer strength of him. But he has to concede, he has to hold back, and that'll put him under pressure from his teammate Kai Hitchler, who goes down the inside. Is he going to get 2 and 1? Ah, not quite. Almost avoids contact. And my goodness me, he has to step back even further. Look at it, door-to-door racing the 453. Going really side by side with Eckart. From the looks of things, Hitchler has the jump on him.
Yeah, Philip Eckert doing a great job trying to put the pressure on, trying to keep the pressure on. John South for the first time. Uphill they go. Patrick Kabinji just running a little bit further wide than Jason Cooper behind. We're on board with your race leader of Ross Balfour as we're going across the line for the first time. I can tell you, 11 starters. Maximilian Fritz did take the start in the end, so great to see. He is further back in the order, but at least we have got 11 runners here, and he could end up with a good result if some shenanigans happen. But up at the front here, I don't suppose there'll be any team orders between the two core sim racing drivers. These two are going to go at it. I think the gloves will be off very shortly.
Let them race. That's going to be the motto that hopefully we can ask for from these guys with you. Let's see what they do. Quite clearly, Kabinji being slightly apprehensive to make a move this early on. I tell you what, the same can't be said for Maximilian Fritz, who seems to be making a move on Icon at the back. That's the last I saw heading into turn 4. But here we come though, Kabinji looking for something around the outside, stays back a little bit. And the thing is, Paul, once these guys start to fight a bit too much within each other, it just allows the likes of Cooper and Asher to close on in. So what these guys must do, work together as a team, as they are already racing for the same course of racing team.
I think you've caught whatever I've got there, Samil. But
it's 1:30 in the night, so
yeah, well, yeah, that is true. Eckhart and Icon have been switching positions, and Rakovic has actually made his way past Icon behind them. So that was the battle that you saw, and look at this to the inside. Icon trying to make the move in Junsao and makes it stick to 9th and 10th place. Those two are battling it out on screen, and Icon finally making it stick in that Leipart car. But well, Andrei Rakovic, we saw in the opening race, to give up.
yeah, he really is that he will fight down to the very end, and that very end is what, still 11 odd laps left to go for that one. So for these guys, the battles are going to go on for a very, very long time. What are we seeing here? This is the onboard from Cooper's car. Brilliant camera angle. You can just see the underside of the Audi RS3 LMS TCR car. Bottoming out pretty much very clean. Braking at the tarmac patch. Just speeding the car into the apex. Not going too wide, because if you go too wide, your exit will be compromised. Avoiding the AstroTurf and on the run towards this quick right-hander. Nobody seems to be making a move, Paul. They're all waiting for the right time. And the right time may just come quite a few laps later on.
Yeah, it's all going to come to a head towards the end of the race, I do feel. And everybody just biding the time and being patient behind the wheel. Track temperature has actually stayed about the same. We haven't gone that far into the evening in Sim. It's only 5:47. So it's not too late in the evening here. So yeah, track temperature still a factor, but it's not too hot out there. So the front tyres should be okay for the majority of the race, but if they're pushing them hard, which is what you're seeing right now, then they will be feeling the effects of that towards the end, especially through that middle sector. The front tyres, they just scream at you through those tight and twisty corners where you need the mechanical grip, and it's just not giving it you. The battle at the back still ongoing, because Rakovic, I said he's not one to give up. He's moved up ahead of Icon, but here we go. Vinci just showing his nose to his teammate towards turn number 1, not happening for the time being.
It's just a gentle reminder that, okay, Ross, I'm here. You may not see me attacking right now, but I'm right there waiting for that one opportunity when I can really go in and make my presence feel felt. Well, the interesting thing is, Paul, even though these RC TCR LMS cars are quite loud as such, the tyres, you can really hear them screaming when you go into such an understeery corner. You can literally hear the tyre squeal all the way through. And even in this iRacing tyre model, you can see all the flakes of the tyres, all the rubber coming out and producing marbles on the exits of the turn. So the tyres really are put through a proper test in the middle sector. The question is, who can manage it the best and who can be the most, well, passive-aggressive. That's the best way of putting it forward, because that is eventually one strategy that can pay off, as we see Cooper literally on the gearbox of Kabinji.
Well, do you know what? Kabinji has actually just fallen back a little bit, ever so slightly, from his teammate Ross Balfour. And that's just allowing Balfour to just get that little bit of a gap. It's not enough that he can break the slipstream, but he just had that little bit of breathing space. And look at how much of the grass crate that they take on the entry to Junsao. And Kabinji just running a little bit wide through the exit of that corner, but able to carry the speed uphill and through towards turn number 1. And that's where this course in racing car seems to be hooked up here, Samil. It's through that final tight corner. It's not the final corner of the lap, but it's the final tight corner. They just seem to have it hooked up through Junsao.
Yeah, they just pull through so easily on that run down towards the Senna SS. So that's one thing they're really having an edge on. I wonder whether it's down to the way they've set up the car. But as you can see right now, Paul, this is where Cooper comes up really good. See him closing up the gap. Asher also trying to get the draft on Cooper. So you will just see him closing in millimeter by millimeter. Eventually, though, not close enough to make a move. But yeah, it's all really just calming down at this stage. It's all the drivers preserving their tyres, making sure that there's enough grip left for the final couple of laps when they can battle it through and get the best out of it. Still, 5 laps in, Balfour the lead, Kibinji not too far off.
I mean, you say that they're looking after the tyres, but I can tell you that the fastest lap of the race is only 1/10 off of the pole position time. So they're really pushing these cars out there. They're really trying it out to try and get the lap times out of the cars. I can tell you, Ross Balfour, the race leader, is actually your fastest lap holder as well. But Patrick Kibinji now all over the back bumper of his teammate. Wanted to get that better run through this corner right here. Junsal for the 5th time out the corner, getting the slipstream now. Look at him taking that little bit of a different line there, Samil. I'm wondering if he's just deliberately trying to get out the slipstream here to start with, so he doesn't come too early here, because now the slipstream is really taking a hold in towards turn number 1 then. This is the first opportunity. No, he's backing out of it. He's not making the lunge here yet, but he's making his intent known.
He is. That's very well put through. You can literally see Kibinji getting close enough to remind Balfour that, okay, when the right time is there, I'm going to be right here, right behind of you to get that move in. But as always, teamwork coming into picture, and Kibinji waits. Kibinji really doesn't go on the aggressive as much. And that's interesting you mentioned about the slipstream early on, Paul, because at the exit of that corner, you really don't want to be catching up the slipstream too early, because then for a bit of a while, the corner really tightens up and you can't properly go too wide there. It just becomes too risky, and you're on the diffuser of the other car with no space at all to move out from there. So Kibinji smartly going out right there, understanding when is the right time to get in the place, and then he just comes up through and leaves the place as he's doing right now as well. So who has moved up the most right here? It's Fritz, Icon and Petrosino. It's Fritz probably because the other guys didn't really take the start, so he got those positions on by default. But yeah,
Maximilian's actually on pit road at the moment, and he has been for 4.5 minutes. So I think that's his day done there for Fritz. But the rest of your field, all 10 of them, covered by 9 seconds. You can see that on the left-hand side there. 10 cars, 9 seconds. All it takes is one little instant to happen, and those at the back are suddenly battling for a lead.
exactly. It is that kind of a series where everyone is so close to each other. One mistake, it could all go wild, but we are seeing this battle for the lead reignited. Kibinji closer than ever. But the interesting thing is, he is not going down the inside line. He sticks right behind, settles in behind Balfour pretty much, you could say. And that's kind of smart actually, because now we've only just started the halfway mark of this race. Kibinji really doesn't need to go on the aggressive right now. He can wait, he can still push the car up, he can still try to get that gap in, but he doesn't need to go on the aggressive. So it's all about working enough of a gap between both the course and racing cars and the guys behind, so that you have that sort of a leverage where you can really fight and nobody comes close through you.
We're getting to the halfway point of the race. End of this lap will be halfway. It's Ross Balfour leading ahead of Patrick Kibinji in second place. You can see on screen right there the ominous sight of an Audi in the rear view mirror. That's the bane of many motorway drivers' existence right there, being that close to the back of you. Third place is Jason Cooper. He's still in with a shout at this one. Mike Nasher is just fallen back just a little bit from Cooper. Not the greatest amount, but he has dropped back a little bit ahead of Fraser Smith, who is now actually putting the pressure on Martin Asher in 5th place. 6th is Sandro Petrozello, who is, well, he's all on his own really in that Leiper car, ahead of Kai Hitchler, his teammate, Philip Eckhart. And then the final two of Andrei Rakovic and Marcus Eichhorn, they are still battling out for 9th and 10th places, so they're still pushing it on. But your leaders, your two leaders, once again, Kibinji getting up close, pulling out alongside Ross. They've got to be communicating with each other and just saying, you know, Patrick will be saying to his teammate, don't worry, I'm not making a move yet, but, you know, at some point here, Sunil, you've got to be thinking that there's got to be a move made.
The thing is, when? The real question is, when are you going to turn the switch on? And for Balfour, it is all about knowing when Kubinji is actually going to get that done. Because if he catches him out by surprise, we have seen time and again that Interlagos, it is such a tricky track that if you even catch the guy up ahead of you by surprise, you can end up with a major accident and both the co-racing cars out of the race. And that's something that they really won't want to do, especially considering how good of a position they are in right now. So it's communicating with each other, knowing when is the right time to go for it, and actually catching the other guys behind of you by surprise. And the interesting thing is, Paul, although Kubinji and Balfour are working together, Cooper is still not too far off, so he's there or thereabout, and he's clearly understanding that, yeah, maybe I could just bide my time and go when there's only 2 or 3 laps left to go for it.
Well, Swift Cooper Esports driver Jason Cooper is certainly putting on a great display of driving in that 3rd place, sticking with the 2 leaders. He's on his own in this, although it just gets a little bit deep perhaps into the final corner, uphill once again. You can see how close Kubinji is getting to the rear. You're getting a real inspection of that rear suspension and the exhaust as well. Look at how close they're getting there. They're almost rubbing bumpers as they go through past pit entry in towards turn number 1. Lap number 9 of this race. Now, come on, Patrick. Let's start making some moves. Let's make this a bit more interesting at the front here, and get Jason Cooper involved in this one as well. Kai Hitchler and Philip Eckhart have been swapping positions as well into turns 1 and 2, and it's Eckhart who's in 8th place, Hitchler staying in 7th for the time being.
So Hitchler having his hands full with Eckhart right behind him. He's flashing the lights as you would see every single Audi driver on the M3 motorway on a Monday morning. Yeah, what is he going to do now? Is he going to make that critical pass, or is he just going to stick behind and keep on annoying him with his flashlights? According to me, it's going to be the former. Here he comes, the 41 car looking. He goes inside first and then goes to the outside, setting a dummy almost, but the dummy is not sold yet. Oh, bump drafting. Oh, this is getting very lively, Paul.
Yeah, he was almost trying the cutback through Ferradura there. You can make that work, but it's very tricky to do. You can see the damage on the front of his car from the little bit of bumping and barging that he's been doing here, giving a little bit of Morse code there to Kai Hitchler. Kai, who we know from that heat race, wasn't best impressed by Martin Asher with his bumping his way past. And here comes Rakovic now, Sandro Rakovic. Look at this, because 2 drivers are battling, here comes a 3rd into that battle.
Oh my goodness me. Looks for a lunge down the inside of Yunsar corner. Look at them, are going really argy-bargy at this stage. And they are going side by side. Rakovic barging his way through down the inside line. It's a proper flag race to the center S's. And it's all about who's going to really get the better exit and get the better braking zone heading into turn 1. It's Rakovic who gets the jump. Oh, goodness me, really getting very close to the diffuser. Goes down the inside, and Rakovic has to concede. No, they're still door-to-door. Hitchler is just enjoying the biggest of smiles at that stage. But this battle isn't done yet. Still out of turn 3, they are going wheel-to-wheel.
Eckhart doing a great job of getting that move done. I thought he was going to make contact with the cutback. Here comes Jason Cooper for 2nd place now. All of a sudden, things are starting to pick up. As good old JR would say, business is picking up right now. And in towards Ferradura, Jason Cooper, I think he sat there and waited long enough. He wants to start making some moves. The problem is, if Patrick Kubinji defends too hard, that'll allow the race leader to just get an unsurmountable lead.
For the team, it's a good scenario. You want to be there in the 1-2 position, cementing your place. But for Kubinji as an individual, that is the last thing he wants. He wants to get in there at Lewis and get that B1 in. But right now, he's got his hands properly full with Cooper. No hocus pocus, just pure focus for Cooper right here.
Through Jursal once again. Time is running out in this race. We're on lap 10, about to start lap 11 of this one, so opportunities are starting to fall away. Speaking of follow away, that defensive driving meant that Ross Balfour was able to pull away to half a second in front of his teammates. A little bit of a gap between himself and his teammate to just relax just that little bit. It just gives you a little bit of a breather. You can take that deep breath in and just calm your heart rate and prepare yourself for the final few laps of this race. Through turn 3 they go once again. Kibinji just running that little bit wide, but not under any pressure from Jason Cooper this time as they head towards Descenda de Lago. But really, here at Samil, Cooper, he needs to start making moves at this time if he wants to battle for the lead.
Exactly, because Kibinji in himself is a very tough cookie to crack. When he gets down to Balfour, that is, if he gets the move done, he will need that sort of time to execute a clinical move like that one. So now is the time to turn up the dial up to 11 and make those moves. And clearly, Paul, you can see from the way he's driving that he has done that. He's putting his nose into all the right places. Can he make it stick?
We've got battling further down as well. Rakovic, Eckhart, Icon. Kai Hitchler has taken a tour back to the pit, so he is out of the race here. So Kai Hitchler in that Leipart car. Oh, they were going 3 wide into Ferradura. No. That's never going to work. Huge frontal impact there from Kai Hitchler. I'm not surprised that he's taken that tour back to the pits, but it was Philip Eckhart and Andrei Rakovic going side by side with Kai, and there's very little space for him to go. That reminds me of Matt Neal at Silverstone in 1994. Yes, I am that old. It reminds me of his incident that actually ended his season that year in the British Touring Car Championship. He got stuck in between 2 cars that were coming together, and he just bounced around and off he went. So that is exactly what's happened to Kai there, and that has dropped him out of this race. So 9 remain in this race. It is Balfour ahead of Kibinji, ahead of Cooper. That's your top 3. They're together by 0.6 of a second. Martin Asher and Fraser Smith have closed up together. They're 4th and 5th place. Sandro Petrozelio still on his own in 6th place ahead of Andrei Rakovic, Philip Eckhart and Marcus Icon rounding out your 9 cars remaining in this race. Kai Hitchler and Maximilian Fritsch back to the pits in this race. They are done for the day. But this feature race now, it is starting to pick up here. It's simmering right now, Samil.
It probably is. This is the time when the dish is actually coming to its proper end, and we are just adding the salt to garnish things up. That big accident right there, adding a lot of flavour to the race. And that incident, Paul, when you're going 3 wide in that sort of a corner, one person has to back out, or in the end it's going to be one person looking back at all the damage on the car thinking, man, why wasn't it me who just lifted off the throttle? That is exactly what happened to Hitchler in that case. Still, if he's classified, that's not bad points for him on board, because we've had so few drivers competing today. But that big crash ruined what could have been a very good finish for him right now. Question is, what is Kibinji going to do? He's looking to the inside line. He's getting away from the slipstream of Balfour. I wonder why he's doing that. But here he comes, getting ever so close. We're properly into night racing and Interlagos. And no, he waits. He still waits. Lap number 13, Paul. Only a couple of laps to go. If something has to happen, it has to happen right here, right now.
It is the penultimate lap here then for these drivers as they head on down the back straight. They are pushing on, trying to make moves. Balfour ahead of his teammate Kibinji. You can see the different lines being taken by them. You can see the headlights shining as well, guiding them their way around this track. Looking from the roof of Ross Balfour here, in towards the right-hander. Those Core Sim Racing cars, of course, with the Race Spot logo on the rear windscreen, that gives them an extra 0.2 of a second. That is confirmed, by the way, as they go through the left-hander. Away we go towards Bica de Pato once again for the penultimate time. Jason Cooper loitering with intent. He wants to get by here, Samil.
He really does want to get by right now. He's been stuck in P3 for far too long. Can he break the ice, and can he be the one to initiate those moves? Coming off Yunsao for probably the second last time, this is where it all matters. Getting a good run heading towards the Senna S's. That long front stretch can be a place where you can really go side by side and make your presence be felt. Unfortunately though, Paul, nobody seems to be close enough to go for a move. But that said, Kubinji is getting closer. To the outside he comes. White flag in the air. Let's go for this one.
Here we go then, in towards turn number 1. We will see what happens here, but these are 3 championship contenders all battling it out at the front of your field. It's your championship leader, Ross Balfour, who's leading this one. I can tell you Fraser Smith has made a move on Martin Asher. They're in the background of that shot there, because here comes Patrick Kubinji. He's showing his nose as well towards the inside. He's not close enough to make the move stick. Jason Cooper, what can he do in all of this? Can he make any moves here on this final lap of the race? Headed towards Ferradura for the final time. Get your line right through here, Ross, and you know that you're safe for the time being. Drivers trying to get the cutback, trying to get the different lines here. Kubinji taking a tighter line in towards turn number 8. So, but having to go a little bit defensive on Jason Cooper, it looks like, rather than attacking your race leader of Ross Balfour. Kubinji, tighter line once again into Bico de Pata for the final time. Jason Cooper with that wide entry, he could carry more speed that way. Downhill through turn number 12 towards Junsao the final time. It's going to be a drag race, and I think Ross Balfour has just got enough. Oh, Kubinji runs a little bit wide through the curbing there. That could compromise him up the hill, but the slipstream from his teammate will be helping. But going across now towards the start and finish line, it is going to be core sim racing driver Ross Balfour taking win once again here in the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. It's a 1-2 for core sim racing, with Patrick Kubinji in second place, Jason Cooper for Swift Cooper Esports in third place, and another one of your championship contenders in Fraser Smith manages to get fourth place on the final lap of the race. Still battling across the line here. This is Eckhart, and that is Icon across the line as well. Those are your last 2 runners there. But what a result for your race winner, Ross Balfour. Absolutely superb. Led from lights to flag. Doesn't get the fastest lap though of the race. That goes to Jason Cooper. But some great action out there on track. Here's your official race results then from the feature race of the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. Round number 5 from Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and it is Ross Balfour, a core sim racing 1-2. Look at that time, 0.18 of a second. Second place for Patrick Kubinji. Third place for Jason Cooper. Only 0.4 of a second off of the win there. Really, really close action across the line then. A little bit of a gap back then to Fraser Smith in 5th, ahead of Martin Asher in 4th, should I say, ahead of Martin Asher in 5th. Sandro Petrozelio in the Leipart Esports car made a move on his teammate at the start of the race, and then really had nothing to do all day in this one. He finishes in 6th place ahead of Andrei Rakovic in that team entry. Philip Eckhart for the iLivery's VIB Esports car in 8th place, and the final runner who finished the race, Marcus Icon, in 9th place. Kai Hitchler, who we saw getting bounced around into the wall at Ferradura, in 10th place. Maximilian Fritsch does get classified as 11th, being the last of your starters, and 3 drivers who did not take the start: Alessandro Baccialega, Lennart Hartenberg, and Mats Thorg Husfeldt did not take the start of even the heat race. But Samil, good close action, not quite as action-packed as we've seen in previous rounds of this championship, but still really close. Less than half a second between your top 3.
That is quite an encouraging thing to see all the main championship contenders so close to each other. It may not really have produced for the most entertaining of rounds here at Sao Paulo, but hey, doesn't matter. In the end, we've got a final round coming up a couple of weeks later on, and this is just a perfect example of the kind of battles that we can expect between the likes of Balfour, Kubinji and Cooper, among all the other drivers who haven't really come up here today as well. We've had a slightly shorter grid, but hopefully for the season finale next time up, we are going to have much more cars. And the battle that we saw today, yeah, it was fun. We saw all these cars close to each other. But maybe next time we can see things going that level up, and hopefully we'll see more moves being made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 14 cars were entered into this event. So it was still a good number of cars. We've still got some good heat racing going on here today. But that final, the battling was more in that mid-pack, wasn't it? It was more mid-pack down where the real sort of hard battling was going on. And I will say, of today, Kai Hitchler must be absolutely spitting feathers at how he went today.
Oh, exactly. He was on fire all the way through. A shame about that incident on that final race, but he really showed the kind of intent that was missing among quite a few drivers that we saw today. A lot of people were going very conservative, waiting for the right time to strike. Hitched on the other side and said, hey, to hell with it, I'm gonna go make my moves. Sadly, didn't really pay off, just went off the board for a little bit. 3 wide on that corner. That is not something that I would advise, but he went for it. Eventually, the result not really panning out for him, but it was very refreshing to see a driver actually go for those moves that nobody else was actually going for. It made the race slightly more entertaining, but yeah, I think on the whole, a very good result for the top guys in course sim racing. They must be having a gala time after this one.
Well, one thing I will do here is sort of look towards the final race in Silverstone. It is the scene of many battles and many tough races, and I think of touring car racing around there as well. It should be absolutely exciting. The 3 championship contenders, and I'm going to drop Fraser Smith out of this one, even though he finished 4th today. Cooper, Kavinji and Balfour, they just seem to have that extra edge over the rest of the field here.
Yeah, they clearly have that extra pace advantage, and sometimes it can just be down to that extra couple of tenths of a second that you can really drag out from yourself, and that seems to be really paying off for them in all the heat races. I mean, you can see them being very controlled in their aggression. They are aggressive, mind you. They really go for the moves when the need arises. Sadly, they didn't today. But they can really control things. They can manage their pace out. And that sort of modulation in your aggression levels can really pay off in heat races, especially when you have a big feature race coming up exactly after that one. So yeah, lots of interesting challenges coming up for all these guys as well. But final round, Paul, Silverstone, FIA Grade A circuit. It's properly wide. It's properly open. And just the thought of having TCR cars on this circuit, the home of British motorsport, just fills me up with a lot of excitement. That's the best way I can put it.
Absolutely. It's a venue that I've visited a number of times. Seen many a great racing go on there at Silverstone. But that is for next time. I believe that's on August the 28th is that final round of the championship. Yes, it is. So 2 weeks' time. You want to keep an eye on your calendars. Make a jot in your diary for that one, because you will not want to miss that. The final rounds. And don't forget, we've hardly talked about it all of the way through the series here. They're all fighting out for a $500 prize fund here, Smell.
And $500 is not a light amount, so you will surely see that aggression level translated into the race in Silverstone, because on one side, they're fighting for a lot of pride in terms of winning the races, but hey, you're getting $500 of cash right in your pocket. Who wouldn't fight for the lead that aggressively? I mean, certainly I would.
Well, I'm afraid that is all that we have got time for here today. We've just got a couple of thank yous to mention before we head on off towards the end of this broadcast. First of all, it is thank you to the man behind the cameras and behind the scenes, the producer Hugo Luis, who do the superb job bringing you all the pictures that you've seen here today. Also, thank you to Esteban Caballo, trackcams22.com for providing us with cameras for today's racing. Also, thank you very much to my co-commentator Samil Aurora. As always, it's been a thrill working on this championship with you. And from myself, Paul Smith, I want to say thank you everybody for watching this broadcast of the Heusinkveld TCR Heat Series. Don't miss it. 2 weeks time, August the 28th. It's going to be all coming down to the final at Silverstone. Till then, bye bye.